Are we good?
Okay, now we are recording. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Parks and Trails June 20th, 2020 meeting. Roll call. I'm here. Phil is not here yet. John's here. John Dugan. Is it Alicia?
Yep.
Alicia.
Yep.
Val is absent and Judy Streller's here. Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance in sync.
And this is going to be our flag.
Okay, I pledge allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
and
for
to the
which it
republic
stands,
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for
all.
all.
Okay, I think we did great.
That wasn't bad.
We aced it. We aced it.
We totally aced it. Okay, agenda approval. Would anyone like to make any amendments to the agenda? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Did anyone motion?
Oh, motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
okay. Roll call vote. I say aye. John
Aye.
Hoffman
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay, agenda has been approved. The minutes of the May 21st meeting. Any questions or comments on the minutes of the May meeting?
And just to note, it looks like Phil is joining us currently.
Okay. Okay, if there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the May 21st meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the May 21st.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Second the motion.
Okay. Roll call vote. I vote aye. Is Phil with us yet?
Let me ask him to unmute.
Okay.
Phil, can you hear us?
I'll just keep going.
Oh, he unmuted.
Okay. Phil? We'll just keep going. We have enough people, right?
Yes.
Okay. Dugan?
Yes, aye, I'm here.
Hoffman?
Aye.
And Streller.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. Open forum. Jess, is there anyone interested in speaking?
There is no one else on the call.
Okay. Presentations. There are no presentations this evening. We're on number 7, unfinished business. Park rules review update.
Another update, Phil said, sorry, my link is not working. I'll try to figure it out. So
Okay.
that's an update there.
Okay.
And I will share my screen with you guys. Can we all see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So
I
if
see
you
black.
huh?
I just see black. Is that what we're supposed to see?
No.
Nope. Park rules review update is what it says. So.
You should see a PowerPoint.
Oh, should I hit share screen or no?
No, I'm sharing my
View
screen. You
options.
should be able to. I wonder if maybe it's your view. I don't know which button to push. There's a grid video.
Oh, there we go. I see it now.
Got it?
Good.
Perfect. So if you guys recall, back
Got
in
it.
May of 2019, we looked at the current ordinances for the park. And since then, it has been reviewed internally with the Development Review Committee. So the DRC is what it's shortened to. Red font on your packet are going to be the adjustments that have been made internally. So I put them on these slides. I figured we'd go through some of them, see if you had any objections. Otherwise, end goal of this is to review them and consider recommending approval by the council. It's not necessarily going to be on the next council meeting, or council agenda, but it'll be on an upcoming one. So I'll go through them, and then if you guys have any questions at the end, let me know. Sound like a plan?
Okay.
So the first one, the hours of operations, after talking to everyone and having a conversation with the police department as well, the thought is to change it from 10 p.m. or from 11 p.m. to 10 p.m. as an end of day, unless it's a city-sponsored event, a program, or a waiver is present. So I do have people who reserve the field, and they could potentially reserve it past 10 at that point, and we would just get that all squared away on the back end, and then they would have the form, and if the cops came out and said you can't be here, they could hold up the sheet. No removing or relocating equipment. Currently it just says no moving equipment. It's just a rewording. Nothing really changes with it. Only malt liquor and wine can be consumed in the parks. This one's going to be a little more tricky as far as the city council is concerned, because it's going to be the liquor ordinance as well, since currently it's only 3.2 malt liquor can be consumed in the parks. I think we had this discussion because we're the only state that has 3.2 liquor or malt liquor. So the concern is it's going to become extinct, and then you can't have anything. So the idea is basically beer and wine without a limit on the level. No placing, parking, or driving on park property with any motor vehicle except on specific roads and parking lots apart from city vehicles. So it's just adding that last little bit because when I'm out there in the Explorer, I want to be allowed to drive out there.
Absolutely.
So ones that you previously approved, no tobacco use, with the exception for inside of personal vehicles. After discussing it with the DRC, the idea is to add or vaping. So if you're gonna use tobacco or vape, it would have to be in your vehicle. And the idea behind that, if you guys recall, there's not really anywhere you can go off of the premises, so in your car is the best option. It's a very common rule throughout most cities. So the final one, and this is one that we had discussed, and I'm gonna bring it up again because I'm a very strong advocate for it. No golfing or archery allowed in the parks except in designated areas. I'm gonna tell you guys my concerns again. I found so many golf balls, and I continue to find so many golf balls. And at this point, it's a standard across many parks to not allow golfing. My concern is both there could be golf balls flying, and obviously people won't hopefully shoot them at people who are walking around the park, but you know, better to not risk it. Additionally, to have them out and about, if it gets sucked up in a lawnmower, it could cause additional problems. So that's my suggestion.
Well, first of all, Jessica, you need to unmute Phil.
Stand by.
Yes, you unmute him.
So,
And what do other people do about golfing in a park? I mean, what do other cities do? How do you control that?
Allow it.
You just don't allow it at all.
Correct.
So what would happen if somebody were golfing?
Realistically, I'm not sure that the cops would go out there and say, how dare you, you can't golf. If I'm out there, then I would probably walk up to them and say, hi, unfortunately you can't golf here. And I would say, we do have 2 golf courses in town. I believe both of them have driving ranges.
Yeah.
And they're not all that far.
is there going to be signage then that's going to go out? Because I'm sure Alicia and I see them, they're out all the time golfing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
would say probably every other day.
Right. Yes.
Not shocking based on how many golf balls I've seen. So with this, the next step in my mind would be to start looking at signage for the parks and kind of get it standard, I guess, across the board. And these are all things that would be standard for all of the parks. So the hours of operation, the moving items, obviously with the exception of picnic tables if they're renting the pavilion. But we're trying to get that standard across the board. So then the signs would all look the same. But that's a later discussion on what you would want on the signs. I would say that majority of these items would go on the signs, things such as the tobacco use and the golfing if you guys see fit for it. But I'm trying to get, I guess, the rules kind of honed in before we make that signage. And then if there's a problem down the road and we have to add something to the signage, then, you know, you don't want to do that in a year from now when you already have the signs.
Mhm.
So
Right. Okay.
what are your guys' thoughts? Oh, I suppose I'll let Sharon do it, and if we want to go in the line.
Well, we've been making comments, questions. Are you looking for, okay. Did anyone have any more comments or questions about the changes?
Yeah, I could see how frustrating all the, I could see how frustrating all the golf balls would be, especially on the equipment mowing. It'll be interesting to see how quickly that stops, because it does happen so frequently that they're out there golfing. So, and then is archery, has that ever been a activity that folks have done out there?
No,
if I've
but
seen
the
that.
idea was, okay, originally, and I don't remember if it stayed on the phases or on the plan for the remodel of City Park, but archery was one of the items, so it was to kind of encompass that and make sure that they realize it's only allowed in that designated area, because yes, archery is allowed, but literally in this section, don't do it on the baseball fields. But then the other thing is it kind of goes hand in hand with some cities for the golfing.
Okay.
So this is one of the ones that's more common of a rule throughout cities. So I just pulled the whole thing.
Got it. Awesome.
Preventative more than anything.
Right.
Hopefully.
Any other questions or comments for the park rules review? Okay, I will entertain a motion to recommend council approval of the changes proposed by the staff. Could I get a motion?
Give me just a second. It looks like Phil said he's muted again.
Oh, Phil.
I promise I'm not muting him. I do want to hear his opinion.
All right.
Oh, there you are.
Apparently, this is my first time doing this. I guess I had one question really quick before we make the motion. Is this the exact wording that's going on the sign, or is this just kind of to get the idea of here are the rules?
These are the rules. Did you have wording suggestions? I'm definitely open to them.
Yeah, is that something like I should like email you and like here's some, because some of they're really small changes, just little tweaks. I don't think we really need to.
Yeah,
go into
absolutely.
it. Okay, I'll plan on doing that.
Sounds good. I'll keep an eye out.
Okay. And then the one rule change that seems odd, and we might have talked about this, was the no breach of peace. Isn't that just kind of a general rule for everywhere?
So that's already in it.
Okay.
That's
So-
already an ordinance.
Oh, so let's not change it.
Nope.
That would have to go through council or something.
Well, all of these will have to get approved by council. All the ones in red.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to accept the changes proposed by the staff.
I'll make a motion.
to accept.
Whoever.
Okay, it's a second.
I will
I'll
second.
second that motion.
Okay. Okay, I vote aye. Phil Christensen,
Aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has passed. Okay, number 8, new business. Public comment opportunity. Is there anyone that would like to make any public comments, Jessica?
It is still just us.
Is us. That sounds good. Okay. All right. Letter A, 2020 budget and fee schedule. Jess is going to present a staff report.
I am. So on the screen should be another PowerPoint slide. I took the table that I included in your packet. The red are the changes. I apologize that City Park listed here is not in red. It should be. Actually, no, I just took off picnic facility. I lied.
Okay.
So just a couple of minor tweaks. I wanted it to be pavilion because that's what we're going with across the board. We've had pavilion, park shelter, picnic shelter. I mean, there were too many names, so I'm narrowing it down. It is pavilion at this point. It's what it shows up on we have a new reservation form. That's what it says on there. So we're going with that as the standard. So I changed that on here, kept the fee the same. Damage deposit, leaving the same. It's the same for all amenities. So the picnic shelter, fields, volleyball courts, you name it. The lights, I capitalized F in field. Oh, I skipped one. Soccer, football, baseball per field. Currently, for a 6-hour usage for the entire 6 hours, it is $30, which is so incredibly low. That is $5 an hour.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's worth it for us to up that price. I looked at surrounding cities. The average of the nearby cities was 21 and some change. I talked to Public Works, got a time frame on how long it takes them to maintain the fields, such as dragging, because we do drag prior to a reservation. So I included that in my estimate, and I am saying that $22 an hour, which is a huge increase, I realize, but it puts us more at a standard. But this would be a per hour usage and then a minimum of 2 hours. So it would be a minimum of $44 and then the damage deposit as well. It's far closer to a standard. I would still say that we're on the lower end compared to most cities. And I think that our fields are worth it, especially since we're dragging prior. I'm going to keep going, and then if you guys have questions at the end, let me know.
Okay.
Lights on Lions Field, like I said, I just capitalized the letter. Scoreboard and the PA system for Snyder Field per game, $25 an hour. It wasn't actually on the fee schedule, so I'm including it now. Tennis courts, all of the courts, I changed it from a 4-hour usage to a 2-hour usage, and I just cut it in half. Currently, as long as I've been here in the 2.5 years, I have not had anyone reserve them. So I cut it in half. Maybe if we cut the time frame that they have it and cut the price a little bit, I don't know. I'm going to test that out and see how it goes. I did remove the field tennis courts damage deposit, and I just combined it all into here since it was already listed. And then my other suggestion, the Memorial Garden had a photography rental for the community garden with a 3-hour maximum at $25. Again, in the 2.5 years I've been here, I've never had anyone do it. I think Michelle said the last time that she had seen it done. Michelle is the deputy clerk now. She used to be the admin assistant. She, I think, said maybe once, and that was the whole reason that they put it in place. That being said, I don't think it's necessary. So I think we'll leave it with that, and then I'll just note that as far as budget goes, I'm planning on keeping the 2021 registration fees for soccer and then spring and fall baseball the same. As you guys know, the spring baseball season was canceled. I'm currently postponing soccer and baseball registration. It hurts my heart to do so, but hopefully we can get it off the ground and running. But in the time being, it's going to stay the same. And for that reason, I think we just keep the fees the same for next year. And now I'm ready for questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from anyone?
Yeah, the $22 for the soccer, football, baseball per field fee, that's an average of the nearby places?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And there, I also looked at a document. So through the Minnesota Recreation and Park Association, I'm part of an athletic management group.
Mhm.
So I attend monthly meetings, and everyone kind of coordinated together to put together this giant document of here's how much we're charging per baseball diamond, softball field, soccer field, you name it, it's on there. So I also looked at that just to get further away places, maybe like Egan, Edina, Minnetonka. I mean, that's further out than what I was looking. But I looked at those two just to get an idea of what they're charging. Obviously, those were a little more,
Right.
but because they're a bigger city.
Mhm.
But so 22 was more of an average in our area.
Do people, they don't have to reserve it. They only really reserve it if they like want their space guaranteed, but they can just go out and use it
Correct. Yep.
anytime, right?
So
It's
right
not
now
like
we've
they don't have to.
correct. Yep. We've got 2 groups right now that have reservations, so they're just ensuring that they get field time. They can't kick anyone off if they get there, and if you're out on the fields and someone comes out and wants to play on the same field, you have no authority technically to kick them off, which is why people reserve it.
Right.
So is
Yeah.
the scoreboard typically used in conjunction with field rental?
Correct. Yep. So if they're going to use the scoreboard, they would be then using the field, which if they wanted to only reserve the scoreboard but not the field, well then it'd be a weird request.
Right.
But I guess
I guess I'm wondering the time allotment, because then if the scoreboard is per game, does it make sense to have the field per hour?
so. The issue with doing the scoreboard per hour
Mhm.
is then if they rent it for 2 hours, but then someone else tries to rent it, there's really no good way to do it. Just because I'm not going to be here at night when they're likely using it, and then be
Right.
like, yeah, let me
Right.
take it back and then give it to someone else.
Right.
So I suppose I could do per day. That might be a better option if you guys
Right.
are okay with that.
Mhm.
Or half day, because you're going to run into a 12-hour game. But yeah, if a game goes overtime, then you're going to need it for a little longer than 2 hours.
Right.
But
And I
you
will-
did half, morning and an evening.
I will add, if we do a half day, upon speaking with Public Works, it sounds like if a group rented on the weekend, I would likely just be renting to that single group, and they wouldn't be coming through and dragging again, just because there would be an additional fee with that and what have you. And we do have rakes if they wanted to just smooth it out a little bit, and I would be more than willing to leave one out. So I would think it would probably be per day. So, but I'll adjust that.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, so we're gonna move on to letter B, final plat for Bellwether 5 edition.
And let me share the other PowerPoint. Okay, bear with me for this one because this is Kendra's PowerPoint. And while I have looked at it, I'm hoping we can get through this one and I can answer all of the questions you guys might have. So the 5th, oh, and this has a typo. So 5th, not 5th edition, it's the final plat for it. This is a map with the natural resources from Hennepin County. The Bellwether preliminary approvals were granted in 2018. This is the 5th phase of the project. So let's see. Park dedication was granted based on the entire Bellwether project and includes 4 acres of neighborhood park, which would be dedicated in this phase. The concept that they have provided with tot swings, and they listed a few other things, that's not necessarily something that we have to follow. The planning would be on you guys and myself and Brad and other staff, but That's not set in stone by any means, and the final design would be based on what you guys determine. There are 9 acres of the open space park that is coming down the pipeline, and then a private amenity center that they are doing along with off-road trails. And if you recall, this is the boardwalk project. So one of the things that you guys should discuss, the trail connection between the street and the open space park to the south. So this would be paved, and then there's the potential that this would be paved going along here, and then maybe a connection here and leading down here later on. So I'm gonna go through the list of things that you guys are gonna talk about, and then we'll go into discussion about it. Another thing to consider, pedestrian cutouts in the curb. Right now it is ribbon curb, so it just like goes like this, but it's not technically ADA compliant. So something to consider. I wish I could zoom in, and I will when I pull up the agenda packet. But right here at the cul-de-sac, there is a trail right here, or a sidewalk right along here. If you can see my mouse. And then this is where the trail ends currently. The staff suggestion is to pave to here, not include that trail connection here, kind of nix all of this for now, just because the park itself hasn't been planned yet. Wait until you guys plan it and then determine where you want the trail and sidewalk and everything. But have the trail continue to here so that there's a pedestrian cutout that goes to the cul-de-sac. Right now there would be a cutout on this side of the road, but there would not be here. So the same would be said about this. There's a sidewalk along here, and then there would be a cutout here, and the suggestion is to put one here. And then end goal here is to make a recommendation to council to approve the trail connections, the pedestrian cutout, and then the area of the parkland to be accepted, which apparently I switched these around. So this also should have been another slide. I butchered this PowerPoint. My apologies, team. So you have the option to accept all of the proposed park dedication or dedicated parkland. So all of this pink, or you can choose to only accept this part, as the remainder of this is wetland. Something to note is that the more land that you accept, the lower cash in lieu of land the lower they would have to pay for the boardwalk. This has been a mess. I apologize. If you have questions, I swear I can answer them better than I'm explaining this. I've even walked through it 3 times with Brad. So the more land you accept, the more the city has to pay for the boardwalk.
Right.
So then I'm going to go back to this recommendation page
Sorry.
so that we keep track of everything we have to talk about. Please hit me with questions, because I know that was a poor attempt at explaining it.
Why would we accept the second part of the land if it's all wetland? Because they're not going to build on it anyways, right?
So there's that, and then the other thing to note is that in this northeast corner right here, there's additional area there. It's actually right here. So we would have to maintain that. In addition to taking the land, the city would end up paying more for the boardwalk, and that northeast portion of land would have to be maintained, which is why staff's suggestion is to only take this portion.
Right.
So it sounds like there's no good reason to take it.
Right.
If you have one, you let us know. So that's the parkland. The pedestrian cutouts, it would make it ADA accessible. I would be a very strong advocate for doing the cutouts. It would just allow for wheelchairs. And my other idea was, did you see the lightning?
Oh my God, it was right in
Lightning? Yeah, I did.
just a bolt. Oh my
I know,
God.
I saw it. But it would allow for wheelchairs as well as walkers. So that was the idea there. And then the trail connection, just because you guys, there's no planned park quite yet. There's no, a playground's going to go here and these courts are going to go here. That's not set in stone necessarily. So the idea is have it continue so that these people have accessibility to it, and then figure out the sidewalk later on. Any other questions I can help with?
So if we go with the city recommendations, it would be your ADA approved sidewalks,
The pedestrian cutouts,
the
yep.
cutouts, okay, and the shorter trail connection. And only accepting the land that's not a wetland.
Tom would like to speak. Give me just a second to
Okay.
unmute him.
Because, yeah, they probably talked about this.
I found out why you guys can't unmute on your own. I just fixed it.
Oh.
Hopefully that helps. Sorry.
The studies.
All
Is
right,
he
Tom,
there?
you should be able to talk.
I have a question. I could ask it now, or I guess I could ask it when it goes to city council. But we've got these trails going down to the end of the cul-de-sac. Is that in addition to a sidewalk that they're putting in, or instead of, or
Give
am
me
I?
just a second to pull up
Yeah.
my big map. It's hard to see on this little one.
Yeah.
That looks like just sidewalk. It's gray versus brown. So this would be sidewalk.
Okay.
And then looks like this would be trail. But it would be paved, bless you.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me.
So the cul-de-sac, that sidewalk, then
Bless you.
we're asking for a cutout just so that it can connect with the city trail.
So there's already a cutout here.
Okay.
It would just be on the other side of the
On
road.
the other side.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That makes
I was
much
told
more
all intersections have cutouts, but this side would not have the cutout.
Got it. And that's going to be a city trail per our agreement, or because it's
Correct.
going to be on the park or going to run to the park.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure they're not getting credit for a trail that runs down to the end.
Yeah,
of
I
the
apologize. That's sidewalk.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
One other thing to note, if you guys choose to recommend that council only accept this as the park versus this, they would then have to maintain this area instead of the city or this area. So
Mayor? Okay. All right. If there's no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to recommend, oh, it says either option of the park dedication for this phase of the city council.
So you can either take the proposed park dedication area or simply the contiguous park area.
Okay. So do I need a motion from someone to do that?
You can do all at one time if you want, and then they can say,
All
we
right.
can call this option 1 on the left, the entire pink area, or we can call this option 2,
Okay.
this half of the pink area.
All right. So we'll go with the option 2 of park dedication for this phase to the city council and approve the changes proposed by the staff.
Which
Could
would
I
include
have
the
someone make a
trail and
motion
the cutout.
and the cutouts? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote. I vote aye. Christensen,
Aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Hi.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has been passed.
Again, I apologize. That was so hard for me to spit out.
Well,
We made it
that's-
through.
I mean, You did it. You did it. Okay, so we're on number 9, reports and information. Active planning applications. Do we need to go through that?
If anyone has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions about any of the active planning applications?
Nope.
Okay, I think we're good. All right, then the recreation coordinator update.
All right, so just to go through my update a little bit, you guys all had it in your packet, but here are the key points. Still continuing to monitor the state guidelines and determine if fall baseball is an option. Currently, games are not allowed. So at this point, it's hard enough to get coaches to coach since it's a volunteer position. It's even harder when they have to know a lot about the sport because all they're running is practices. For that reason, I know for a fact it would not take off, so I'm holding off so that I don't have to take all these registrations and then eventually refund them. The Country Days meetings, I'm continuing to attend those. Emergency Operations Center, still going to multiple meetings a day. I just submitted to FEMA for the civil unrest, the protests that occurred. We took some precautions and had extra officers on, so I submitted for that. Parks and Trails documents, per usual, I put together your packets and the PowerPoint, and that seems to be it. Preparedness plan. So the city is required to develop and implement a plan by June 29th of this month to open up or for future phases when we do open up. So what precautionary measures, there is a long list. It ended up being, I think, a 41-page document. It was a lot, but I took the reins on that for the most part with a lot of help from the leadership team. So Brad, Kevin, Matt, and Jessica. I got a lot of help from them, but that was kind of my baby, and I'm finishing it up tonight after this meeting. So really excited about that. Night to Unite. We did reschedule it. We haven't announced it outright, but this, I guess, could count as the announcement. We are planning to move Night to Unite to October 6th, which is the first Tuesday in October. That's recommended by National Night Out as an organization. You'll notice a lot of cities are going to be doing that, so that's kind of the plan where we're at right now. And then soccer registration is still postponed due to COVID. Again, we can't run games, so I know that it's just kind of best to put it on hold for now, and hopefully we can run it just at a later date. Any questions as far as that's concerned?
You get any comp time, Jessica?
Not comp time.
3-day
Not comp time.
weekends. Come on.
I am not working tomorrow, I will tell you that. And I have all
Awesome.
weekend off, and I'm very thrilled. I'm not going to
That's
do anything except for sleep.
Good. Just stay out of the sun.
Well, I think that'll be easier said than done considering
Or
I think it's supposed to
sunscreen is
rain.
always good.
Yes. So that's what I've got. If there aren't any
Okay.
questions, then we are good to move along.
Any questions for Jess? Okay. All right, we'll move on to our city council report from Tom Anderson.
Nice to see you all. I miss being on Parks and Trails. It's fun to look at the work you're doing. I have several items. The city council has been busy. Our agendas have been long. It feels like we're working really hard, but all is well. We had our annual audit, and the city staff does just an exemplary job. There were just no issues. He produced this huge documents, and I'm kind of a numbers guy, but it was a monster. Our city finances are in really pretty exceptional shape. We are being fiscally extremely responsible, and I think that will serve the city really well in the future. So that's a good thing. We did we passed the annual discussion about dust control. It's an issue which of course comes up every year, and the issue is why do people who live on gravel roads have to pay for it? the people who live on paved roads don't have to pay for any of that sort of maintenance that goes on. So the truth is that the city as a whole pays for much of the dust control, and homeowners on gravel roads pay a relatively small percentage of the total cost of dust control. And that is, we decided to continue that policy that has been in action for some time. But it does get some folks pretty excited. So it's interesting what draws the comments. It's an $81 fee for homeowners on a gravel road, and so it's pretty interesting. We approved that open space plat for Paulson Farm. That's the one south of County Road 30 over by Bechtold Road. They had to talk me into it. I was sort of the reluctant one, but I said that, you know, it'll be really nice lots for folks out there. It didn't meet the old definition of open space preservation. But that ordinance was changed a couple of years ago, and I think they will be fine lots other than the one lot that's right under the power lines, which is interesting. So that they'll move ahead with that. In the last meeting, we updated the park dedication fee. Thank you guys for going through that. It's important that we keep those fees updated so that the money we take in can actually build the park system that we're creating. So it felt like that was, there have been sometimes when the amount of money that the developers have to pay for the park dedication fee has been an issue. It was not particularly an issue this time. The city is moving forward with starting to build its own water supply, which has included drilling a well, and that is moving forward. A test well has been put in, and the water supply is good so far. And we issued a bond issue at an amazingly low interest rate, like 1%. It's just a bargain. So the timing on that was excellent. It's a real step. We will have a water tower sometime in our lifetime here. And the city engineer, Kevin, has been doing a really nice job of making sure that we're building a reliable, clean, good water supply. One of my issues is that we should, in fact, build a water supply system that works well enough so that homeowners using that supply do not have to have water softeners. It's a huge amount of salt that goes into the environment, and it just seems like that's sort of a coming issue. And I think it's important that we see if we can solve that as a city rather than as individual homeowners.
They talked about a location, Tom, for
Yes,
the water tower.
they have.
I can't remember where it was.
Yep, it's in the east side of town. It's Kane is the Trailhaven or Kane. It's just right County Road 30, a little off of there. So it's in that northeast corner of town.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Eventually, what will probably happen, I don't know, I probably won't be alive. We will get our water from the Mississippi, kind of through Dayton, up there, and then we'll use just well water as a backup. But that's a ways down the road. And I grew up in Minneapolis where they use river water, and it's the way to go, I think, in the long run. We are working with Medina on a Hackamore Road rebuild. The traffic on Hackamore in the southern edge of this town is really growing, and there's a development happening along there, and it desperately needs to be done. And Kevin Matson has been doing just a really fine job on the engineering and working with the folks to get that done. It was really interesting at the city council meeting that Alan Schultz, council member Schultz, lives on that just off of Hackamore, and he had some really interesting comments about some of the grade issues. And it just really reminded me that as we go through this process, that it serves every citizen well to really take a look at these development, all of these projects, and especially in your neighborhood, and see how they match up with your experience. And so I would encourage you to kind of keep your eye on what's happening at City Council, and to look, and if it affects you, you know, you guys have some credibility because you've been serving the city well, to raise those issues, either with council members or at the open forum at the City Council meeting. We need that input, and it serves us well. So we also approved the fee schedule for water and trunk line charges and all of that sort of stuff for new developments going in that are going to get water. We get some water from Maple Grove and such, but we're planning on having our own water supply, and so then folks have to pay to get hooked up. The plan would be that if you have your own water supply, it's the intention of the city, I believe, to not make you ever hook up, because it's expensive. It's many thousands of dollars to get hooked up with the supply, but we're not trying to bankrupt people who live in Corcoran by making them open up a well and then hooking them up to the water supply. So, and I would be happy to take questions.
Did you say that when they do the hookup with water, we are not going to be forced to do that?
That is my understanding, is that it would be directed at new development primarily. New development would like to have that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but for folks who, it's just a real issue. Water and sewer are great if you don't have any, but if you've got a septic and a well that are working fine, why would you want to hook up? So,
right. Yeah, I don't.
I believe I'm right on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would be an emotional issue at an expensive one. I mean, we just had to put a new mound system in at our house, and that's really expensive, but that's the kind of money that you're talking about to add to get hooked up to the city water. So.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's very informative. Okay, moving on to Garden Club. We're getting rain. We have plans to meet tomorrow night at City Hall and work on the garden there. So maybe some of those weeds will be easier to pull out. Hopefully it won't be so steamy. The air will clear. I don't know.
So maybe this would be a chance to talk about the wetland border at City Hall with the wetland.
Oh, the buffer zone.
Thank
you. Well, Tom and I met with Pat Meister and two of his crew members to talk about some stakes that they'd put in for the no-mow area by the wetland at City Hall. And Tom and I suggested maybe they move it back just a little bit to follow the contours of the land, and they were totally willing to do that. Right, Tom? Anything else?
It's just really interesting that the wetland outside of City Hall turns pretty green pretty early. And part of that is that they don't do much fertilizing at City Hall, but a little bit, and a lot of that just washes into that wetland.
Right.
And so
and from the parking lot too.
Off the parking lot, by having a bigger buffer, more of that runoff would stop before it gets there. So it's a little less for the city to mow, which is a good thing. And we are closer to being compliant with the city rules about wetland buffers, which is
and state rules too.
Always a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we looked at City Park as well, and around the waterways, the little creek that runs through there, we have a larger buffer there too. So that was a good meeting. All right. Anything else, Tom?
Nope, I think that's
Garden Club? Okay. So, Park Dedication Fund. Is there something for that, Jessica?
There's not a whole lot unless you guys have questions. It looks like it's about the same as it was last time. Maybe up 72 cents depending on when that got put in April. if you want to talk about the 72 cents, it's the
Any of you
interest.
money guys want to comment on that? I'm not a money guy.
It's not bad, 72 cents. Is that
Bill, this
so-
is your time to shine.
Yeah, come on, Phil.
so is that for a whole month that we got that?
That's what it looks like.
Oh.
It was
I'm impressed.
52 cents in March, so really.
Yeah, if that trend continues.
Oh boy,
we'll
look
get a
out.
dollar pretty soon.
Okay. So there's no other business. The liaison calendar, is everybody good with their dates that they're going to be checking in with city council meetings?
Yeah, does an email go out with a Zoom link then for those?
Well,
It
that's a good
should,
question.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, just
I would-
automatically?
It will likely be, I want to say Michelle. I think she's the one who's sending it out.
Yeah.
And she would have access to this, but I can double check with her.
Awesome.
Did you guys get them for the ones leading up to this meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Did today. Mhm.
Perfect. Then
So can you just go on and not do video? Is that what
can.
people do?
I would imagine you could. I don't see why that would be a problem. I think you would just have to chime in and say, hi, I'm here. And then,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the last meeting. I didn't have video on the whole time, and they didn't even ask me to say hi. So just go there. If they do say something, definitely be ready. But
Would you like me to try and always ask the Parks and Trails liaison a question? So that you might answer time for minutes in front of city council?
Only if we get it ahead of time.
Right.
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you can have communication problem and not be able to talk? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, just listen. Hello.
I will note,
Oh.
Sharon, you will see me at the next one. I am presenting the preparedness plan to council. Tom, you will also see me.
All right.
All 42 pages of it? Or
41.
60?
41 pages, including a cover page and a table of contents. So really 39.
We like that.
It's gonna be short though, right? Shortened version.
I hope so. I'm very
Oh.
anxious.
Are we gonna talk about the city council members or not?
I don't know that it's public yet, so I would hold
Okay.
off.
All right, we will not
If
do
you guys
that.
are curious, please check tomorrow's packet.
Okay.
It should be
But
posted
is
by the end of the
everybody
day.
good? Is everybody good with their dates for? Okay. All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, a second.
I'll second.
Who wants it?
Okay.
John,
All right.
Okay.
Oh, do we really have to do a roll call vote? Okay, I vote aye.
Aye.
Christensen,
Sorry. Hi.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Hi.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay,